could you tell us a little bit about Cafe Hope and also who you are? Who the heck are you? Because you're an interesting person. You have a fascinating story. I know that during one of those Goldman Sachs days when we were kind of chatting in the hall, you gave me the spiel about how you got into doing the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to really touch on all that, because you have such a valuable core set of beliefs that come from such a diverse set of experiences.
Yeah, it's so Cafe Hope was started in 2010. A really good friend of mine, Tim Falcon, was one of the founders of Cafe Reconcile. He's a West Banker. He came one day and said, the kids from the West Bank can't get over to Cafe Reconcile. Let's do something like this on the West Bank. And so Cafe Hope was birthed. And we were originally an affiliate ministry of Catholic Charities. So, we'll always be thankful to those guys, because without Catholic Charities, Cafe Hope would have never had a start. We didn't have any money.
They were sort of your seed funders in a sense.
Yeah, they truly were. We were in one of their buildings. We were in the Madonna Manor building for the first 5 years of our existence. And I picked up some incredible role models. Gordon Wadge was the president and CEO, and to this day, he's still a role model. And so he's a man that's done some fantastic work for everybody in the city, Hispanics, kids, infants. So he's just a man that gives his heart to everything he does, and I learned a lot from him. But Cafe Hope was birthed. I was actually the first chairman of the board of Cafe Hope.
And who are you?
Oh, sorry. I am Louis Arocha, and I am currently the executive director at Cafe Hope.
But you weren't always the executive director.
No, I started out as a board member. Tim, again, a good friend. It's really funny how I got started with nonprofits. So before Reconcile was Reconcile, it was a program called Kids Cafe.
Kids Cafe.
Yeah, where they would go and bring young people in from the projects and try to give them a fine dining experience. So Tim called and he said, hey, we need some families to be hosts to the kids that are coming in to Kids Cafe. Would you and your family be interested? I had 3 kids, and I said, that'd be a great experience for my kids to see the other side of life, right? I think my kids lived a pretty good life, probably a privileged life. Mm-hmm. And so we went to dinner. My oldest son went into the kitchen. My wife and I sat down with the 2 younger kids, and we hosted 3 brothers, 8, 6, and 4. And so we chatted for a while, and then food came out, and we were supposed to pray. And so we said grace and prayed a little bit, and we had meatballs and spaghetti that night. Mm-hmm. And what happened next is what changed my life and my wife's life forever. They put food on the table, and these 3 young men started eating with their hands, even though there was silverware laid out in front of them. Mm-hmm. And, Tim apparently saw my face and my wife's face and ran over and said, I didn't do a good job of telling you guys what was going to happen here. And so we made adjustments, showed them how to hold a knife and fork, how to use a knife and fork. But on the way home, we decided as a family that we needed to be more involved, to think.
As a family?
As a family, sure, because I think that was a good lesson for our kids. To think in the city of New Orleans, in the United States of America, that we still had young people that have never had the opportunity to use a fork and knife and had to eat with their hands. It was eye-opening. My family was in no means wealthy, but I'd never seen anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so we walked away feeling like we were lucky and privileged, and that we had to find a way to give back and to be involved to change things. And so that night changed everything for us. So Tim called and asked me to be a board of director. It took me about 30 seconds to say yes. At the first meeting, I was voted the chairman of the board. And then some things happened. We made a change at the executive director's level. And in my infinite wisdom, I said, I work for my dad's business. I work for a family business. I can go over there and just watch things for a couple of weeks until we find an executive director.
It'll be your side hustle.
Yeah, well, not even a side hustle. I was doing it just because I was trying to be a good chairman of the board.
To stay engaged.
Yeah. And 2 weeks turned into a month, and a month turned into a month and a half, and friends and family started going, something's different about you. What's going on? And I think I found some inner peace, and I found some joy in being there and being a part of those kids' lives and trying to change their lives on a daily basis. And so eventually they said, why don't you take the executive director's job? And I said, because I know what you pay. But went home and talked to my wife and my family, and everybody agreed to make the sacrifices that went along with taking that position. And so it's really been a family affair. I'm so grateful to my wife and my kids for the sacrifices that they've had to make so that I could find peace. And so it's been a journey. It's been good.